Obviously, we are going to talk about golf fitness today. The first question that comes to everybody's mind is why do we need to train? Why do we need to condition for golf? Because if you look at it, it's quite a simple game. You don't. There's no need for running. There's no need for jumping. There's no need for diving. So it's not in the perception that it is not an athletic sport. There's a general perception anyway. But as people, as golfers, or as people who are involved in conditioning of athletes, there's one thing that you need to know, that golf is a highly athletic sport, that you need physical condition of a very high level, which is not apparent because it's unlike any other game. You don't need to dive, you don't need to run, you don't need to be in body physical contact. But now listen to this. If those familiar with EMG is a recording how the muscles work during movement. Now, when a professional or a low or a high level amateur golfer, say with very low handicap, swings a golf club, say when he's hitting a driver, for example, which typically in a championship golf course could be 13 to 14 times, maybe 15 times in a round. The EMG recordings say that the golfer is using about 90 to 95% of the capacity of the muscles. Now, trainers will know 95% intensity correlates to about 2 reps. So 95% is 2 reps. We're going to say that you're lifting 100% at 1 rep. So that means 15 times in a round, a golfer is working itself up to an intensity level, which makes you fail in 2 reps. So if you were to make a golfer, for example, repeat 2 driver swings back to back, that's failure. On the 3rd swing, he will not be able to hit 95%. So that is the kind of intensity that is generated in a golf swing. The other thing about golf fitness, different from other, is it's a very subtle and intricate level of fitness. What does that mean? That means the relationship between muscles in the body. Muscles are related either in an antagonistic manner. That means if this were a joint, there will be muscle on either side of the joint. So the muscle here and the muscle here have an antagonistic relationship. Okay, so the relationship between muscle A and muscle B, which lies on 2 sides of a joint, are critical in a golf swing, how they relate to each other. The other thing, we have synergistic muscles, muscles lying next to each other and performing the same function. For example, the hip muscles, the muscles around the hip and the lower back, are in synergy with each other. Both of them can extend the hip and the spine. So these are in synergy. Now, the relationship between these 2 muscles and antagonist is extremely important. I don't know of any other game where this intermuscular relationship is so critical as in golf. So everything has to be in the right sequence. Everything has to be in the right flow. If one fires before the other, it affects the shape of the club head at impact hugely. Now, if you see there are larger muscles in the body that is controlling an area which is only that much. I mean, a tennis, the sweet spot, and if that is the length of a club head, the sweet spot would be even smaller. So when all the muscles are impacting the sweet spot at contact, and you're trying to hit an object which is about 350, 400 yards away, but that size, a side of flag stick, you got a tough job. So that's why golf fitness of a very different type. Second, the other thing that I want to, before we come, we got a 5 minutes just for introduction, is that do not mistake conditioning to be skill. Not for once are we saying that you work on the fitness at the expense of skill. Skill is first. If you don't have the skill, you don't waste time in conditioning, because conditioning cannot take if you don't have the skill. However, if you have the skill and you do not have conditioning, you can go only that much. Yeah, because when you reach a situation where you'll hit a wall, but everybody can hit a good ball. You know, everybody has the skill at the top level. And if you don't have the physical conditioning and you don't have the correct body which fires in the correct sequencing, you'll find it difficult to climb that extra bit the last bit, which just separates the good from the greats, or even the not so good from the good. That's the second thing. The third thing is, and which we learned, and I'm from Czech Institute. I did my golf conditioning with Czech Institute, which Paul Czech is very popularly claimed to say, that he calls it the hole-in-one conditioning, W-H-O-L-E, not H-O-L-E. So the hole-in-one conditioning in which says that the conditioning aspects has to be in the correct order, which is flexibility, stability, strength, and then finally power. So it's flexibility, stability, strength, and power. And in many ways, that's the ladder which we need to use in all aspects of physical conditioning. Why is that? Because I sometimes find a lot of coaches say, oh, I need to improve explosive strength of my students. And they get them to, golf needs explosive strength. There's a lot of words that go around in the parlance, explosive strength, fast twitch muscles. But believe me, if you don't have the basic flexibility and you're working on strength, you're going to injure the athlete. And the athlete is going to develop strength in the incorrect order, right? So first, flexibility. Why do I say? Let's look at a practical thing. Now, you've seen a lot of golf coaches say that at the end of the backswing, that your hips and core should start the rotation and not your upper body. So the legs driven by the core and hips. But if the hip flexor muscles in the front of your body are tight and you're not able to move from the hips, you will find no way to rotate. That rotation can be with the upper body, rotation can be with the lower body. So a body will find its way to do a job if it lacks flexibility in one area, beg your pardon. So that's why you have so many swing defects. Like if you try to use your back before the hips, you see spin outs. If you start the upper body first, you'll see it over the top. So there are many, many, many swing defects that come out, which apparently look like technical defects. But to me, they are just physical defects because the golfer doesn't have the physical attributes to fire the muscles in the correct sequence. So number one, we talked about why you need to have golf fitness. Secondly, be very careful that they have to be in the correct order. Yeah, and I said that before. It is not a substitute for skill. So I'm not even suggesting the golfer spend a lot of time in conditioning, but it is an important part of the golf. It is the 15th club or maybe the 16th club. You go mental conditioning with the 15th club, and without which you are not a complete golfer. I think, we've gone quite a bit. I'm open to taking questions. And if we have time at the end, I would like to then come back and say a few things. So because we want this session to be interactive rather than me just going on.
Okay, sir. The first question is how to keep fit for golf.
Well, okay, who's this question from?
I don't know. Someone's name is Swing Master.
Right, fine. How to keep fit for golf? Okay, like I said, the 4 aspects of golf conditioning is flexibility. Let's talk about that. Why flexibility? What is flexibility? Flexibility is the range of motion. If you do not have the correct range of motion, now if the coach is saying that you need to take the club back and rotate to get your chin shoulder in line with the ball, but you do not have the flexibility to turn, right? But your coach is asking you to get there, so you'll find a way to get there. So if you cannot turn off your core, off the spine, you will use your knees. Sometimes you will use your ankles. Mind you, that's not a bad thing. A lot of senior people, we say actually to use your ankle, but you cannot, but you will find substituted muscle groups to do that. And when we do that over a repeated point of time, that's when we start getting injuries because the body is not meant to move. The knees are not meant for rotation. The knee joint is meant to move on a sagittal plane. Yet, if you don't have the flexibility in the torso, you tend to move, you look for another joint. So that's why flexibility is important, because without flexibility, you learn the golf swing by rote, not the way nature intended you to learn. So there's a difference. You just learn it because you find a way to get there. But we don't want to find a way to get there. We want to find the best way to get there, the technically more efficient way to get there. However, there are golfers. There will always be exceptions to the rule. But when we talk about biomechanics, we're talking about 95% of the population. There will be 1 or 2 odd athletes who will find their own way and can play like that despite and not get injured. But we researched that there are other aspects. So flexibility, stability. Next is stability. You cannot, that they say you cannot, fire a cannon from a canoe. You've got to have a stable base of support. So, and golf stability is very intricate because some part of the body needs to hold firm while other parts are rotating. It's not like holding a plank. I mean, the plank absolutely has no carryover effect because the entire body is there like a statue. So I do not, after a particular point, you have to teach your body, some part of your body to be quiet while other parts of the body are rotating. That is really what stability means in a dynamic. So we are talking about dynamic stability, telling the upper body to be quiet and fire your legs, understanding what separation of the upper and lower body is, moving the upper body and keeping the legs quiet, moving the legs and the upper body quiet. That is dynamic stability. Finally, strength, because without strength, you will get injured. Yeah, and I said, you need, when you hit a golf ball sometimes, and particularly when you're in a drive, you're using 95% of your max ability. So there flexibility, stability, strength, and finally power, because you need to have a lot of, you see Rory McIlroy's swing, and you know why you need power. You see his hips rotating, that's all sheer power. But power not at the expense of the other three aspects. I think that answers your question, Swing Master.
Yeah. Is there a difference between fitness and conditioning?
No, it's not. It's just it's the same word. In the area of sports, in the realm of sports fitness, we refer to conditioning as, because of course cardiovascular conditioning, but in golf I didn't mention cardiovascular because you don't need it. If you have the ability, if you can walk 18 holes, you can play golf.
Yeah. So can you give us some cool down exercises for after a round of 18 holes?
I think it's almost impossible to demo it because the camera is positioned in such a way that I've changed. So for practical classes, I think you can leave, you can ask this, we can do another day where it's more conducive to, because in this, I really cannot demo, and there are lots of cool down exercises. It's not possible to demo them now. But you can contact me separately and I can put you onto a link, or we have our own cool down exercise and I can send it to you.
Yeah. Could you please show some stretches and exercises for the rhomboid muscle?
Okay, so what do you understand of the rhomboid muscle? What is its need in golf? Can you understand? Before doing a stretch, again, like I said, do not learn movements by rote. Understand what the rhomboids do in any particular movement. Now we're talking about the golf swing. And then, where, for example, whoever asked the question, can you unmute?
Yeah.
So do you know where the rhomboids lie?
Okay.
Okay, the rhomboids lie between your shoulder blades at the back. And the role of the rhomboids is to retract your shoulder blades. Now, if we cannot retract the shoulder blades properly, external rotation. Now, external rotation of the shoulder is an extremely important move in golf. If you're not able to externally rotate your shoulder, right, from here, you will not be able to shallow the club. Anybody who has seen Dustin Johnson swing and notice external rotation, it's phenomenal. Now, the rhomboids do not externally rotate, but the rhomboid ensure that a scapula goes back to facilitate external rotation. So the rhomboids do not need much stretching because the nature of the rhomboid muscles are such that it is prone to weakness rather than tightness. It is prone. All muscles in the human body are not of the same nature. Some are extroverts, some are introverts. Some tend to get weak and long, some tend to get short and tight. So we have to treat the muscle according to its nature. The rhomboid muscles tend to get weak and long. This is why that we see this, right? So we want to have slight flexion in the T-spine. We don't want a golf posture which looks like this. We need a slight relaxed shoulder, but we do not read this, because in rounded shoulders, we will not be able to turn, right? So the rhomboids need strengthening. Any exercise with, say if you're using a resistance band or weights on a 45 degree and we are pulling the shoulder back like that and squeezing the blades is an exercise for the rhomboids. So that means horizontal pulling where your hands are at a 90 degree is an excellent exercise for the rhomboids. And you need to strengthen this part and stretch the front of your body, because the muscles that lie here are the antagonistic to the rhomboids, which lie at the back. So you strengthen the rhomboids and you stretch the chest. Yeah, the doorway stretch, lying on a Swiss ball, lying on a foam roller, all stretches for the chest. Does that clarify your doubt?
Yeah. His audio is muted, so he can't.
Fine. He can just,
Yeah,
you can monitor that.
Yeah, he can just type it out in the chat box. So, so coming to the next question, how much time should a teen golfer put in each of the 4 elements? Flexibility, stability, strength, and power.
Right. A teen golfer may not need to do power exercise unless he had at least 2 years of training with a qualified coach. So I want to warn all coaches that be very, very careful when you put teen golfers through power exercises, because I assume teenager golfers are those who haven't, they're still in the growth stage. They haven't ended their growth phase. So that is a tricky. I will not talk about power unless I assess the athlete. There are some people who are ready for power, but many of them are not. So I'll leave the power aside. I would say 45 minutes to an hour is fine. 15 minutes on flexibility and 5 or 10 minutes of stability and the balance. 3 to 4 exercises of strength. You can be dividing it into upper body, lower body. 4 exercises per session is enough to do the job. However, the more advanced you get and the more control of your body you have, you will want to spend a little more extra time. And also, you'll find that you can achieve a lot more in that short time, the better you get it. So I would say 45, let's put it at 1 hour, 4 to 5 times a week. If somebody is really interested in making big in golf, I think an hour of exercises 3-4 times a week is absolutely necessary.
Yeah. So the next question is, what is the secret behind your beautiful swing?
My beautiful swing?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure you got that question right?
Yes.
Okay, I don't have a beautiful swing. My God, you ask this question, I go off. Yeah. You've got to ask that to Mr.
Yeah, this question has come from Mr. Rajbir Randhawa.
Yeah, so I can neglect that.
Okay.
We'll pass that question.
Okay. How long does a golfer need to exercise before a tournament?
Before a tournament?
Yes.
That's an interesting question. Before a tournament, would you be willing to change anything about your life? Would you? I'm going into a tournament. Hey, let me try a new shoe, a new club. You'll never do that, right? I mean, most people won't, unless you're super talented. So I don't want you to do anything during tournaments that you don't do in normal days. You should have a routine set, and as far as possible, stick to that routine. So if you get up at 6 o'clock every day, you get up at 6 o'clock on your tournament day. I know a lot of people who have an early tee off and have to get up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Yet on other days, they're only getting up at 8 o'clock. So they're changing the whole routine. Would you change the routine? That's one thing. Do everything on that day that you would do. Very, very interesting. This time I saw while the professional tour was on, Arjun Prasad, Trishul Chinappa, they were all working out in the morning of the tournament. Because when I asked them, they said, "Oh, we do the same thing every day. No big deal. I'm a professional golfer. I do the same things every day." So I would tell all the teenagers listening and all the young kids, have a routine, stick to the same routine. If you warm up for 20 minutes every day, warm up for 20 minutes on your tournament day, don't change the routine. If you hit 15 putts, hit 15 putts. If you hit 15 drives, similarly, if you warm up for 15 minutes, whatever works for you, stick to that. Don't do anything extra during tournament days. However, if you know a big tournament is coming up and you got a time to plan, before the tournament, you work more on slightly shorter reps and a little more weight compared to other time. But that's too advanced. Let's not get in there. For youngsters who are listening in, do the same thing. Don't change your routine for the tournament.
Yeah. So what exercises can we do at home which helps us strengthen our hips and upper torso to hit the ball longer?
Whose question is that?
It's from Kabir Mehta.
Right. The upper. Okay, let's talk about the upper torso. Yeah, he's right. In the upper torso, the back muscles. The back muscles need strength. So as you go to a gym, you know all the exercises that help the back muscles to contract, like the ones are like a prone row. I'm using these technical words because I know Kabir knows the exercises: reverse push-ups, the prone row, the one-arm row. Anything that is horizontal pulling is going to strengthen the upper body and make it conducive for rotation. So there's some amount of upper body rotation, like you know what's a rotationary lunge is it teaches the spine because the vertebrae are not only meant for flexion extension, but some amount of rotation as well. So that is going to. But while rotating the upper body, it's very important to teach yourself to keep the lower back stable. The upper back is meant for rotation while the lower back holds it up. Now that's very, very, very important. I see a lot of people trying to rotate off the lower back and they hurt their backs. Even in a golf swing, the lower back is meant for stability while the hips. So when you see a position like that, the hips have rotated, the lower back is actually stable. It's the glutes that are rotating, and then the hips turn before the chest. That's why you'll see this position on all good golfers have the chest turn. I'm still pointing towards the ball. So what are we saying is the hips need to work. And that comes, that'll only, the hips, the glutes will rotate only if the muscles in the front of the thighs here are flexible. So Kabir's strength in the upper back, flexibility in the chest, flexibility in the front of your thighs and glutes. That will ensure that the body fires in the correct sequence in a golf swing, which, as you know, you know what the sequence is, so I'm not talking about that. Kabir, that answers your question?
Yeah. Is weight training advisable? If so, how much?
Yeah, okay, weight training isn't advisable. Yes, it is advisable because when a muscle contracts, yeah, when a muscle contracts okay, so I'm contracting, but I can only move the muscle that much. Now I am squeezing my shoulder blades, but after a while I'll get no benefit unless I put something in as a resistance to the action of the muscle. But if I had to take a towel and pull it, there's a resistance in the pathway in the muscles contract. So that is going to make me stronger. And I add a little more weight, it's going to make me stronger and stronger and stronger. The body's going to adapt to that for a while. So in today's world of professional sports, it's unheard of that you're not doing strength training. Yeah, how much? I already said. I think at Kabir's age, 4 strength exercises per session is enough. But Viraj Madappa started strength training at 12, and by 15, he was deadlifting 100 kilos.
I'm just interrupting you a little bit. Kabir has added with dumbbells in his question.
Yeah, it's different. Dumbbells and barbells, resistance is resistance. Resistance is resistance. It doesn't matter whether you're doing it with dumbbell. You just have to use it in imagination to work the muscles in the angles and the positions that they need to be trained.
Okay. So what kind of diet to follow?
I think, do you want to get in there? Time is short because I know you had talks with nutritionists as well. So, Pramit, you want me to answer this question? You want to?
No, it's up to you, sir. If you want to answer this, you can. But
I would rather stick to. I can. I mean, it's. But I know you've done classes with nutritionists.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would.
So let's move to the next question then.
Yeah, let's have
Is it more essential to have stronger lower body or a stronger core of golf?
Listen, the way I understand the golf swing, and again, I cannot back it up because there are many ways to do. I would prefer it if a golfer had stronger lower body compared to the upper body. Hang on, that's my personal preference, and I can't really prove it biomechanically that a strong lower body, but I think from my personal experience of hitting a ball, different kinds of balls, golf ball, cricket ball, I feel a stronger lower body is more advantageous, because I feel, why do I say that? Because the first point of contact with the ground is your feet, right? Any power, any power that we can transfer on comes from the legs first. In fact, it has been researched that for example, when a footballer throws the ball, 40% of the power comes from the leg. So I believe, and we know Jack Nicklaus said, didn't have much strength in my arms. Sometimes I used to struggle opening the bottle of jam. And I used to call my wife, Barbara, can you open the bottle of jam? But he said I had legs like tree trunks. And you know that. So, and the modern golf swing is, I'm not saying that you neglect your upper body strength, because the hands are extremely important in keeping the club head, and, to ensure the club head doesn't get disturbed. But I'm one for, it's maybe my personal preference is for really strong lower body, including hips, glutes, and hamstrings. Very important in golf. You can get away. You can get away with a slightly weaker lower upper body, but you can't get away with lower body with a weak lower body.
Okay. What is the role of fast twitch muscle, and also the importance of short and long fibers muscles?
Okay, so in our body, we have two kinds of muscle, fast twitch and slow twitch. The fast twitch muscles are those that are not working at rest. So when I'm sitting down and I'm talking to you, my back muscles are working, right? My glute muscles are not working. So the body is divided into slow twitch. The slow twitch muscles are usually called the tonic muscles, and the fast twitch muscles are fascic. The fascic muscles are the one, like I said, the rhomboids, that respond more to strength training. The tonic muscles do not need so much strength training because they're working all the time anyway. They're overworked. So somebody who's overworked doesn't need so much work. But the fascic muscles are quite a lazier muscle that need to be trained. Yeah, so they only respond when you need to push a weight or you force somebody. Like if I had to jump up from the chair, I would have to use my fast twitch muscles. But otherwise, if I get up like that, they are not used. They are usually not used in the daily life unless we are forcing it to. So so that's the difference between muscles that are fast twitch. A golfer definitely needs to have a large percent of fast twitch muscle, but at the same time, he needs to have the muscular endurance to last 80 notes, sometimes 36 notes. So that's the best I can answer, because I can go on about fast twitch muscles, which it'll really go beyond the scope of they tire fast. So you have to develop the fast twitch muscles, you have to use either plyometrics or really heavy weights, which I'm not too sure the youngsters listening around the stage where they're using heavy, but ultimately I would ask everybody to train as heavy as their body allows them without ruining the form. And that's going to develop the fast twitch muscles.
Okay. So what is the importance of foam rolling?
Again, when I get into foam rolling, let me tell you, most of the research on foam rolling is anecdotal and not science-backed. However, sometimes anecdotal evidence is enough because people have actually reported improvement. So foam rolling, what it does is it trains to, we have something in our body called the fascia, which is like a cellophane. Like if you ever gone and seen mutton sold in the shop, you see the thin transparent layer. So that's called fascia, which ties up all our muscle bundles. Sometimes the fascia gets wrinkled, and the muscles, it's like a shirt that's crumpled. So when you iron out, the shirt tends to get flat. So foam rolling has the role of removing these bundles that form in the muscle. So if you foam roll and people have stretched immediately after foam roll, they have reported better flexibility. Okay, so that is the advantage of foam rolling. It sets you up for better flexibility to increase the range of motion. However, this I would like to add, that you foam roll and you don't stretch, then you wasted the foam roll stretch. The foam roll really actually helps you to improve the range of motion in the muscles. So you need to follow a foam rolling session with a stretching session to get maximum benefit.
Yeah. What is the best training program you can suggest for a beginner golfer?
I would suggest that if now, hang on. Now, a beginner would have, it's not about beginner. We have to first assess the beginner's physical attributes by muscular screening. The beginner could have fantastic flexibility and poor strength. The beginner could have very poor flexibility and decent strength. So it all depends on that person. There's no one beginner model that will apply across all beginners. Very important at all levels is to first do a muscular assessment and screening. And the screening will throw up. For example, when a beginner comes to you, and a golf coach identifies he or she may have fantastic touch around the greens, very good chipping skill, excellent putting skills, but poor skills at hitting the ball long. On the other hand, you may have somebody who loves to hit the ball long, but has very poor skills in chipping, and a poor putter. So obviously, you would concentrate more on the person's, on the child's, on the young beginner's short game rather than hitting the ball long. So it's different for different people. Not all kids who join have the same attributes. So depending upon what the kid has, we need to concentrate on that area. If I find if the child has very good flexibility, sometimes even laxity, then I'll probably discourage that child from stretching too much and concentrate more on strength training. But if the child has poor flexibility and poor mobility, then obviously I will make mobility and flexibility the priority area.
Golf swing is all about Volkswagen system, but still how much aerobic system important according to you?
0.
Okay. How to increase radial deviation of the wrist?
Whose question was that?
Mr. Sagar Diwan.
Okay. Okay. I don't think if you can walk 18 holes, I don't think you need to be aerobically fit. If you're a healthy person, you should be able to walk 18 holes. If you're able to walk 18 holes, you should be able to walk.
Okay, so the next question is how to increase radial deviation of the wrist?
Okay. Sometimes the wrist compensates for lack of mobility and strength in other areas of the body. Now, if you're looking at the arm, the wrist doesn't control the shoulder. The shoulder controls, so it's always proximal to distal. So I feel sometimes the wrist tries to follow the instruction of the brain. Now, this is a little tricky answer. And tries to compensate for movement that it doesn't get in other parts of the body, which is in the kinetic chain. Yeah, because I cannot prescribe an exercise to increase. I can prescribe the wrist to remain firm at impact in the rough. And if the body has got strength down the kinetic chain from here where the shoulder is attached to the wrist, then the wrist will stay in fact. I don't see the role of exercising your wrist at all in golf. I think it's yeah.
So what are the specific exercises for a senior golfer?
I think, like I said, the priorities for a senior golfer, the number one requirement is flexibility, because as we age, older muscles are less prone to stretching. So the number one area of concentration priority should be flexibility. The second is strength. Extremely important, because I see so many senior golfers who do not hit the ball long despite having a decent swing. Yeah, and so strength is the number one priority. And people in our country, even recreational athletes, don't tend to worry about swing. So in that order, flexibility first and then strength. And it's not for senior golfers. I think it is across senior population. And stability, because our proprioceptive abilities, our skills go down with age. Proprioceptive is basically of knowing where you are in space, to be able to tackle side hill lies, downhill lies. You need something what we call proprioception, because you don't always get flat lies. In fact, in India, we are very lucky in most of the courses that we play in the lies are completely flat. When you go and play outside, in some courses, you barely ever get a flat lie.
Okay.
So all these, so sorry, so just to have a little bit. So flexibility, top important, strength, and then proprioception.
Please give a desirable daily routine for a teen golfer.
For a
Teen golfer.
right, because that's a little tricky because I assume the teen golfer will be in school till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I would tell them to use as much as they can out of natural light, which means trying to get up early in the morning and get some work done. That work could be physical work or that could just be school work. So if you get some of the school work done early in the morning, you'll have more time after 3 o'clock to spend on golf. So use as much time of daylight as you can for golf because your studies and your physical stuff you can even do when it's dark inside the gym at home. But like I said, I talked about routine. One of the things I emphasize a lot is get your routine sorted out, whatever works for you, and stick to that routine. It's a part of a larger education, and your coach should always tell you that keep your pre-shot routine the same. It's a part of a larger education. If you keep your life routine the same, it will be easier to keep your pre-shot routine the same. You can't say, oh, I'm a different person in life because I do what I feel like, but my pre-shot routine is fantastic. I always do what the coach tells me. So be your own coach outside the ground, outside the golf course, and follow the same routine every day, no matter what. That will help you to be more disciplined on the golf course.
How a golfer should periodize himself or herself for training.
Periodization is a very advanced as one subject, and only someone who's had some amount of history of training should talk about periodization. But in it's to generalize, it's always first endurance. Yeah, so you have a cycle of 6 to 8 weeks where you're working on your endurance, whether cardiovascular or muscular, and then you work on the hypertrophy, which is the size of the muscle, because the muscle doesn't have a minimum size, then it'll find it difficult to produce strength because the cross section of the muscle is important in producing strength. So endurance, hypertrophy, and then finally strength. That's the periodization that we follow, and then be there for 6 or 8 weeks in each zone, and then come repeat the cycle again. You'll find that when you go back to your muscular endurance zone again, you'll be able to do the same number of reps with much higher resistance. So that's periodization for you, but periodization is pretty advanced, is an advanced subject and it's not really a beginner subject.
How to avoid hurting of lower back in golf swing.
Yeah, it's extremely important. I said about the lower back. A lot of people tend to use the lower back as for rotation. And they use it for rotation because they hang on. You have the upper back, the lower back, and then you have the hips. Now, the upper back and the hips are meant for rotation, and the lower back is meant for stability. Now, one of the first things that we teach in our gym is how to keep the lower body quiet. People talk about strength in the lower body, strength in the lower back. You don't need strength in the lower back. You have enough strength in the lower back. You need flexibility in the lower back and stability. So right in a good golf swing, if you observe, or you got the K West on, if you've ever tried the K West, you see a good golfer, how little movement they have in the lower back and how quiet the lower back remains. So you have to mock and do dynamic exercises in the gym and with the trainer observing, because we don't have the benefit of K West. So the trainer has to have a diagnostic eye where he can notice the athlete moving of the upper body and the hips and keeping the lower body quiet. It's something that you have to practice in the gym, have to understand the whole concept, and you can prevent. It's very cliche to hurt your lower back and say, oh, I can't play golf because my lower body hurts. And it's surprising how many golfers and senior population as well with lower body injury that we put back on the golf course just by teaching them how to use their hips and their upper body.
What exercises can help to increase swing speed?
Okay. Hang on, swing speed is very tricky because I once asked one young girl in the India camp star asked me and said, how can I improve my swing speed? And just as she asked me the question, her coach called her and she said, coming coach. And that's the way she walked. So swing speed, it happens from the mind. Swing speed doesn't happen by working. it's a mindset that makes you move. So like I said, you've got to be that kind of person. You've got to be that kind of person, not that kind of a person. You understand? So number one, you should be thinking speed from the mind. And you can say, I can look at the athlete the first day and say, who's thinking speed? The ability to generate traffic speed first comes from the mind. And then you've got to move quickly. You've got to think quickly. It's a state of mind. And of course, I'm not saying there's no physiology involved, but you can train that physiology. You can actually train it. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that the number of fast twitch muscles that you have in your body are restricted and given at birth. You can train those, but that's where you find some people have a certain way of playing. Some people play in certain positions in certain games and some don't. But for the benefit of the kind of listeners here, you've got to start moving quickly.
So there's this question from a 11-year-old boy. Sir, I practice often and hence don't get much time to work out. How can I accommodate an easy fitness regimen of 15 to 20 minutes to improve my fitness? Yeah.
At 11, if you're finding time a problem, then you've got a problem. Which I'm sorry, you've got to look at your schedule. I can't see why at 11 time. If you have a problem at finding time at 11, by 22 you have to be ready to pack up.
Okay. So how long should a 9-year-old run for?
How long should I run? Is that 9-year-old boy there?
No, she's watching
Okay.
in YouTube.
So, okay, I'll cut this. I think 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes of running is a lot, provided you're running at 70 to 80% of your capacity. Again, if you're not running, now you asked me about fast twitch muscles. If this 11-year-old boy is jogging or not running fast, how on earth is he going to develop fast twitch muscles? Right? So like I said, it's a way of life. You run fast. You move fast. You walk on the golf course fast. You get fast twitch muscles like that. So if this young boy, 9-year-old boy is running and he's running really, really hard, he won't be able to run more than 1 minute. So then he runs for a minute, then he rests for a while, whatever it takes him to recover, and then he runs again. That's the only way a golfer should run. A golfer doesn't need to run. But if a golfer is running, it should be fast, because like we said, we need fast twitch. If you run fast, you develop fast twitch muscles. Okay, no, let's not say develop fast twitch muscles, but you hone your fast twitch muscle that you already got. But if you run slowly, you destroy the fast twitch muscle that you already given at birth. So I don't know whether that answers your question. You run as long as you can run, provided you're running fast.
Why does the glute burn while we do the glute bridges?
Why does the glute burn?
Yeah.
Congratulations, you're doing it correctly.
Okay.
That's why it burns.
Okay.
That's why it burns.
It's a question from Anshul Mishra.
Anshul Mishra, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell him. I'll give him a big kick on his goose next time. It'll burn more.
Okay. Can you give us some exercises to increase lower body strength?
The standard lower body strength exercise is the squat. Okay, there's no better exercise than that. But you could learn to do lunges, which are great as well. So squat, lunges, step ups, and if somebody can teach you the correct way to do deadlifts, that's such an important exercise for golfers. That's why you see Rory, you'll see videos of Rory doing deadlifts. Yeah, so squats, lunges, deadlifts, enough for you. Step ups, but learn the correct way to do it. Many people, squat is a simple exercise, and many people don't. But it's difficult to be simple.
Does genetic test help plan fitness? If so, how?
Yeah, genetic testing is like a little map. It tells me what it will tell me what this athlete will develop. Will the athlete develop has more potential for power, or does he have more potential for muscular endurance? So it'll tell me, will he make a better 800-meter runner or will he make a better sprinter? Now, I don't know that. By trial and error, I might know that, okay, this person has fast twitch muscles, this person is better. But by genetic testing, I eliminate the chance. I eliminate the waste of time. Like very recently, we tested this young tennis player who already has a serve and volley style of playing. But the genetic testing then tell me he has fast twitch muscles. So it's not, I don't think it's coincident that that boy learned to play fast and serve and volley. However, the coach might have made mistake. However, he might have stayed back on the court and played from the backcourt, which would have been such a shame. He might have still been a good player, but he may not have been able to achieve his genetic potential. And it tells us a lot of things that we can, more than fitness, it's to do with health, which will affect fitness indirectly. It will tell me if the athlete is lactose intolerant, is, for example, resistant to alcohol. I know of many athletes whose life has been lost in alcoholism. We can actually counsel the young athlete at an early age so that we don't lose someone to alcohol. We don't lose someone to drugs. I'm not saying that if the genes say that the person is going to be alcoholic, that he's going to become alcoholic. There is something as social influences as well. There are cultural influences as well. But it's just that there are dangers, and I'm aware of the dangers early and can guide, counsel, and divert their athletes and ensure that they have the best and the most conducive environment for development.
Yeah. Please elaborate on importance of recovery time for best results in fitness.
Recovery time for?
Recovery time for best results from fitness.
Yeah, there is a saying that you don't overtrain, you only under-recover. Now, recovery time is different for different people, but ultimately recovery will depend upon your fitness level. The fitter athlete will recover faster, but recovery doesn't happen easily. For recovery, you've got to work at it, and sleep and nutrition is the best way. Good recovery. Okay, now sleep. Sometimes I want to tell athletes about most athletes, a lot of athletes don't sleep enough. Now, physical repair only takes place between 10:30 to 12:30 at night. Okay, so if you're missing sleep in that window, physical repair doesn't play. After 12:30 in the night, your brain starts recovering. So if you go to sleep at 12 o'clock and you get up at 8 o'clock, you're getting 8 hours of sleep. So you say, listen, I'm getting 8 hours of sleep. What's the problem? If I went to 10:30, I would get up at 6:30. It's not the same. The sleeping cycle follows the circadian cycle, and you have to go with nature. We are part of nature. Nature is not part of us. So unless you sleep early and you recover, you're not doing full justice to your recovery plan. So that goes for sleep. I mean, I can go on about sleep. That's one thing. The second thing is nutrition. Good food helps you to recover faster. Enough carbohydrates, enough proteins, the right amount of natural organic food is what helps in recovery.
Yeah. Does weight training affect growth?
Growth in children, you mean? Growth in children, right? No, it doesn't, provided it's been supervised properly and proper. See, children have epiphyseal plates at the end of their growing bones. Epiphyseal plate injury can stunt growth, but we're talking about weight training. We're not talking about weightlifting. None of the kids are lifting to anywhere near their max. They're lifting weights they can pick up 10 to 15 times. And if a child can lift weights that they can pick up 10 to 15 times, that weight doesn't have potential to cause injury, provided the technique and form is right. In fact, plyometric exercise, which means jumping, bounding, jumping from a high place to the ground, has more potential to cause damage to a child's bones than properly supervised strength training.
To make a strength training routine for a golfer, what is the rep range should maintain?
Ultimately, see, there's no one standard. You've got to, like I said, in period. Somebody asked the question of periodization, and I said you've got to periodize. So at some point time in the year, they should be working at high reps, and other times that you're working at moderate reps, and finally, less reps. Or you can vary in an undulating manner, so they are doing different things so that the body doesn't get tuned to one kind of repetition pattern. That's the best way to prevent repetitive use or repetitive injury, and developing all the faculties, endurance, strength, and hypertrophy at the same time. So you've got to keep varying the repetition pattern. However, it's important that before the tournament or the day before the tournament, you don't do too many reps. Keep the rep range short, because to prevent soreness, you don't want to be sore on tournament. So if you work, say, 5 to 6 reps, then you're less likely, or even lesser, you're likely to be less sore the next day. However, 5 to 6 reps is something only elite golfers should be training. You have to build it up. Normally, youngsters, we don't work, little kids, we don't work in 5 to 6 range. We give them higher reps because it is safer for the athlete. When we are working with young population, safety is far more important than function.
Yeah, can you give us some advice with closing the exercise session?
You mean exercise like we normally, okay, when in an exercise session, muscles contract. You are repeatedly working the muscles tend to contract. Before you end the exercise session, it is very important that you restore normal length back into the muscles. And normal length will come by stretching the muscles. In fact, this is as true as finishing a golf round. We always tell our athletes that you must stretch at the end of the session, whether it's an exercise session or a golf round or a practice session. Before the practice session, it is not important to stretch. In fact, sometimes we discourage, except for a few athletes who we know have chronic tightness in the muscles. I do not encourage stretching before the exercise session, only mobility. But after the exercise session, after the practice session, after a golf round, it is extremely important to stretch to restore normal length in the muscle. If you do not restore normal length, over repeated sessions of training, the muscles become chronically shortened, and then they alter the balance that I spoke about. They fire when they're not supposed to fire, and they'll completely functionally ruin a movement pattern.
Sir, can you just elaborate us about the importance of diet after each training session?
So there is some evidence to believe that if you have a protein which is quickly absorbed in your body, that it helps in the muscle recovery in the long run. So that protein, while we say whey is supposed to be a very quickly absorbed protein, I don't want to encourage any young people to take synthetic protein. So whatever protein works, I mean, I think for vegetarians, a great source of protein is peanut butter, broccoli. So immediately after a training session, if you even those who are allowed to drink milk, say a glass of almond milk with some chocolate powder and some peanut butter would be excellent as an immediate snack immediately after your exercise. And then maybe an hour later, you have a meal which has a balanced amount of protein and carbohydrates, say about 50% carbohydrates to restore all the lost energy, and say about 20 to 30% protein, and not forget at least 25%, 30% of fat, which is also important for the human body. So so that's what we recommend. To sum up, quick burning protein right at the end of your workout, and in an hour's time, a balanced meal comprising of 50% carbohydrates and the balance 25%, 30% of carbohydrates, 25% of fats.
So why do golfers usually have lower back pain, and what are the exercises to improve?
I just said that our lower body, I think any exercise that teaches a golfer to keep the lower body stable, work on the flexibility of the lower back, and at the same time, flexibility of the hip. The biggest culprit I've found in golfers get low back pain because they have tight hip muscles, hip flexor muscles that lie in front of the hips. It's almost like a rule. I find large percent, 90% of the people who hurt their back have tight hip flexors. So golfers can keep low back pain at bay by stretching the hip flexors every day, working on the flexibility of the lower back, and very important, working on the upper spine, the thoracic spine, working on the mobility of the thoracic spine, mobility of the thoracic spine, stability of the lumbar spine. That's the combination, not the other way around. Stability of the lumbar spine, extremely important.
Okay. What criteria does one have to satisfy to be a fit person generally?
You know something? I had said, okay, fit generally, I would use the same criteria. Number one, flexibility. Number two, stability, then strength. And for generally, you don't need power because you just want to be generally strong. However, there's one more thing I would add. For generally, you need a strong ticker. So you need a cardiovascular prowess as well, because the heart is the, you have, without a strong heart, you can have strong muscles, no good. So the heart has to have the ability to pump blood quickly and in large amount to your working muscles. So that's another attribute that we haven't talked about in golf, because you don't really need cardiovascular endurance, but a strong heart, mind you, helps in pumping blood quicker. Maybe under stress, I don't know. It's not been, maybe under stress where your heart rate tend to go up. If you have cardiovascular endurance, perhaps you're able to keep control of the heartbeat when you come to that vital putt, and you kind of all of us who play golf know how your heart starts pumping. Maybe if you have a strong heart, and so general cardiovascular endurance, muscular endurance, flexibility, and strength. Yeah. It's not much different from general population as well.
Yeah. We all know mental toughness is the key differentiator between a normal and a champion golfer. So are there any particular exercises which we should do to enhance our mental strength?
See, I'm not a mental toughness coach, but there are a few things that happened in my life that I had to develop mental toughness to fight. And I've always said that your love for your goal, what you want to be, if that is really strong and you really have fire and I want to achieve that, then you will find a way to be tough. But this is not an educated statement at all, because I'm not a mental toughness coach. You got your mental toughness coach. So I prefer that you divert that question to your. I've read Bob Rotella. I use a lot of Bob Rotella in my life, and one book I could absolutely recommend to everybody is hang on. Golf is not a game of perfect, and then life is not a game of perfect. Yeah, life is not a game of perfect. Absolutely a fantastic book that I would recommend even non-golfers to read. Sorry.
The next question. Some coaches say that if you have 1 hour for gym, 1 hour for golf, then first go to gym. If 2 hours for then first gym, for the short game. How correct is that?
Yeah, well, when they say gym, I don't take the word gym literally. What I mean is work on your physical self, because the golfer plays the game, the clubs don't. So the attribute, which is why it's if you look at some of the golfers, look at Ben Hogan, and just one look at Ben Hogan, and make it what a physical animal he was. He couldn't have recovered from that accident, played the way he played without physical attributes. And the kind of clubs that he played with. So it's not the clubs. There is a school of thought that says that despite an increase of so much technology, the average handicap hasn't really gone down. Although you see people hitting the ball better, but apparently you feel that the higher handicapper is playing much better today than he did, say, 15, 20 years back. Statistics do not seem to validate that. So at the end of the day, is the human being with the golf clubs and not the golf club. I know, yeah. I think Indrajit Balodia's clubs are 20 years old or something.
Okay.
So, it's the person playing. So I would say get the physical body playing the game ready first, and then go to the golf course. And about the short game, definitely. There's absolutely no argument on that. Short game.
Is there any specific time to exercise?
Ideally, our cortisol levels are highest in the mornings. Cortisol is a stress hormone. The reason our cortisol levels are highest in the morning is because nature intended it. If you sleep and relax in the morning, some animal will come and eat you. That's the natural law because we are hunter and gatherers. So in our body, as the first hours of daylight hit us, the cortisol levels in our body go up and we need to get up and move. So nature intends us to move first thing in the morning. So ideally, that would be the best time to train and be physically active. However, you are dictated by the demands of an industrial world, and you have other commitments, family commitments, professional commitments, academic commitments. So you have to see what suits you best. But if possible, and I would advise people to get the work done early in the morning. That also keeps you protected from the uncertainties of what might happen later on in the day.
If one is to pursue golf as a career, is having a regular trainer essential for considerable time?
More than a regular trainer, you don't have to have a regular trainer. You can go to someone. For example, Tarun sir comes here for a short while, and then he goes and he comes. But few days with a good top class trainer beats having a poor trainer for 1 year. So you can take something from that person, work on your own, and then get back. I would say working on your own and having spending only short, if long time is not possible, even short hours with an expert, far beats going regularly to a trainer who is not up to the mark. I mean, if I wanted a golf coach, I would. It makes more sense to go and spend 5 or 6 days with someone like Indrajit sir or Tarun sir, and then come back and working on my own, rather than going to someone, one of the, I have no disrespect, but somebody 3 times a week and then learning nothing at all.
Okay. Is it correct to have regular training sessions, or it should be done individually?
You mean training session, the group training? I would not recommend group training for anybody. I mean, it's like having group golf classes. Everybody's body is not the same. Everybody's dysfunctions is not the same. Everybody's muscle attributes is not the same. So you can't, and even if 6 people did a squat and 3 people did it wrongly, they would do it wrongly for 3 completely different reasons. So you can't have a generic class. You can view generically, but then you've got to correct everybody individually, because our human beings are different. You can't, just as you can't train the whole lot to swing in one manner, you can't train everybody to, the exercise protocols may remain the same, but there are variables across human bodies.
Could you please recommend exercises to prevent injuries in the back?
There are no back exercises. There are just exercises for the human body. So I do not believe in this, that to protect the back, you must do back exercises. To protect the back, you must do shoulder exercises, you must do leg exercises, the ability to squat properly, the ability to lunge. So the human body doesn't work segment-wise. Just as in a golf swing, it doesn't work segment-wise. It's a flow. Yeah, so it's a kinetic chain. So there are no back exercises. You could be hurting your back because of poor calf muscles. You could be hurting your back because of because some other kind of body part doesn't. For example, I see so many people injuring their shoulders because they have poor rotational ability in their spine. So it's the problem may be in the back. That is merely the site of pain. And even if you show me an X-ray with something wrong in the back, I will not buy it that something wrong with the back. But the source could be somewhere else, absolutely somewhere else. So when you say back exercises, I do not, like my previous sentence, do not give generic exercises. I'm going to look at that person's entire biomechanic chain and find out where the problem is. And I believe that if we sort out that problem, the back pain may go away. So I'm not going to look at the back only for back pain.
How to get our muscles toned?
I just passed that question.
Okay. There is a request. Please show us the perfect form of deadlift.
Okay. I'll try, but So what is a deadlift? Why do we do deadlifts? A deadlift is basically a bend and pick up form. So to be able to do a deadlift properly, you must first learn to bend properly. So when we bend, the spine needs to stay. So we don't bend up the spine. See that the foam roller is running away from me. So this is a bad way to bend. Now, this is really the proper way to bend, where you can see that the foam roller is in touch with my tailbone and my head. And okay, so this is the way I'm going to teach people. Now, if you see the angle of my femur, my thigh bone, and my spine is almost the same, almost the same. And then when I pick up, so when I'm picking up something, I first push the ground away. Using my feet, and I transfer the power from the legs to the hips, and I stop. So that's a proper way to pick up something from the floor. If I were to pick up, this is a deadlift. So it's a deadlift is really a way to pick up, the proper way to bend and pick up something from the floor.
How long should one do fast running of 1 minute each for best results for the fast twitch muscles?
Okay, if you were absolutely targeting the fast twitch muscle specifically, even 1 minute is too much. Okay, 1 minute is somewhere between, it's a nice anaerobic boundary. It's the best way to train for lactic acid, but it is typically not the best way to train to develop fast twitch muscles. To develop fast twitch muscles, you need to make your timing even shorter. I would say 20 seconds, 15 seconds, even 10 seconds. Yeah, and repeated sets of that with say a rest. Say if it would take you say a 20-second run. So you're running for 20 seconds, really full pelt, and then you need to rest 5 times at least. So 5 times 100 seconds, 5 times to 8 times. So anything in 100 seconds, I would say. So run for 20 seconds, really full pelt out, rest for anything around 2 minutes, and then repeat again. And do as many sets as you can, so about 10, 12 sets. That would be the best way to build fast twitch muscles.
How much important is unilateral training in golf?
Just as a matter of curiosity, can I ask who asked that question?
Last question, sir.
Yeah, the fast twitch muscle.
Yeah, Mr. Arvind Sirohi.
Okay. Okay.
So the next question is, how much important is unilateral training in golf, especially lower extremity?
Okay. See, golf is not played unilaterally, except sometimes you may have lies, like in your downhill lie, you would want to get most of your weight on your front leg, and the opposite in upper lie, because otherwise. So it's largely a bilateral sport, but sometimes we have unilateral weakness in our body. Sometimes training unilaterally can have carryover benefit into bilateral stability as well. So it has no more advantage in golf than it has in any other sports in golf. In many sports like quick fast bowling, for a while you are unilateral because you need to actually be on one leg for a while. But so I would say in fast bowling, there is some specificity, but golf, you're never on one leg. So your logic would be, but the only reason why I would let somebody do unilateral training is to address a weak leg, and unilateral training benefits sometimes have a carryover effect into bilateral training.
Okay. Is the little finger of your left hand bent due to your golf grip?
This one? No, I got an injury with a cricket ball. I broke a finger and didn't get it off, get looked at because I was scared I would miss the cricket season. I was coming back after a long layoff, so I just let it be, and it just this kind of got calcified. Yeah. So yeah. It's
Okay. So moving to the next question. When I run, I start off the bricks walking to warm up and then increase my pace after about a mile and a half. Is this okay? Is there a better method to increase my stamina, sir?
there is no one method to improve whatever works for you. But if you're walking for 1 mile and then you said you walk for a mile and then increase, I think there are better ways to get warmed up for a run and doing more running specific drills, high knee, side to side, lunge walking, hamstring walking, which would only take 5 to 10 minutes and are more specific to your running pattern than just walking. So that's not a bad way. If it works for you, fine. But I would recommend a more technically efficient and a more more specific, specifically validated training warm-up protocol before you start
Is height is an issue for long hit or swing speed? Does height plays an important role in golf?
running. Generally speaking, yes. But if you've seen Rahul Gandhi hit the ball, you might want to believe that's not true.
Okay. Best exercises for upper body. What are the, yeah.
I'm not getting into any best exercises. Um, but if I were to pick one upper body exercise that is very simple and would have the best carryover effect for golfers, I would say reverse push-ups.
Okay.
Even better than if you were asking me generally, I would say pull-ups or chin-ups if you could, pull-ups generally. But for golfers, I would say reverse push-up or inverted rows is more specific. So I would recommend that if I had to pick one exercise.
Okay. So moving to the next question, what are the right muscles which you need to strengthen to increase club speed?
Okay, the core muscle number one, the glutes number two, yeah, hamstrings number three, the upper back number four, yeah, and finally the shoulders. So people tend to say use the shoulders, use the shoulders. That's really got a misnomer. I've heard golf coaches say shoulder use karo, shoulder se maro. I've heard coaches telling fast bowlers shoulder se ball karo. I've never really understood that. I think fast bowlers bowl with their legs and their trunk.
Okay.
So
So moving to the next
I think,
question.
I think my interpretation of the golf swing is that really you need strong leg muscles, strong hip muscles, strong upper back rather than shoulders. And muscles have nothing to do with the size. If you've seen Akshay Bhatia hit the ball, he uses legs in a golf swing, and you see the size of his legs. They actually make fun. He said, "How are your legs? They're so skinny." Have you seen his leg work? It's fascinating the amount of leg muscles he drives into that golf swing.
Okay. So moving to the next question, where can we have the genetic muscles test done
I think
at Delhi?
Sandeep Maliwal asked a very interesting question about open chain and closed chain. Can we take Sandeep's question, please?
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay, an open chain exercise is one. Where, let me put the closed chain. A push-up is a closed chain because when we push against the ground, we can't push the ground away from us. So the result is our body moves away from the floor. So that's a closed chain. When we squat, as again, say an exercise called the leg press, when we do a leg press, the pad moves away from us. But when we do a squat with the same function, the floor doesn't move away from us, we move away. So these are closed chain. So in golf, it's very interesting because the lower body is closed. When we apply force against the ground doesn't move away from us. We propel our swing. But the hands are open because of the lower body power, we are propelling the body, it comes up and then comes into upper body. So golf is obviously a golf swing is a movement where is a combination of of closed and open chain. The lower body remains closed and the upper body is chain. So that is why we recommend the golfer doing a lot of exercises in the gym, which are a combination of closed and open chain. And one I can think of absolutely is the warrior pose, the squat and lunge pattern in a warrior pose, where the hands are open but the legs are closed and rooted against the ground. And this is a very important concept. Sandeep, thanks for bringing it out.
Okay.
Possibly the best question of the day, because it's so specific to how we should train in the gym. Lower body closed chain, upper body open chain. Trainers should be creative and think of exercises where they train a golfer in those patterns.
Okay. So can we take the next question, sir? Where can we have the genetic muscles test done at Delhi?
I have to check with the person who is the provider in Calcutta. If you leave that question with Pramit and give your name and details, I can check back and I can check and get back to you.
Okay. Mr. Mehul, I'm just requesting you to give me your number and details so that I can contact you later. Thank you. The next question is how you analyze an athlete before suggesting a training program for him.
Okay, another very good question. The assessment, the muscle screening that we use for normal people is we tend to follow the FMS, which is the creation of a person called Gray Cook, who incidentally did all the protocols for the Titleist training program. He and Axel Rose. So Gray Cook is the master of functional movement screening. So we do a screening for everybody who joins our gym. And from that screening, we come to know about the person's dysfunction. And it can actually, is it a perfect science? Well, it is nearly perfect, nearly accurate. I tend to get a lot of information that I need about golfers from that screening. So we come to know about ankle mobility, very important for me. We come to know about the hips, where the hips are mobile. Does the trunk remain stable? So we do the deep squat test. We do the inline lunging test. We do the hurdle step ups. If you don't have a hurdle, you can do a box step up. So a number of screens can be performed on day one, and you can actually give a quantitative score. So Gray Cook actually believed in giving a score, and we use it all along. We use it in the IGU camp to give the golfers, if any of the IGU players are listening up on this, they know how they were given at every camp. Every camp when they used to report, we used to give them a score in the beginning, and they were sent that score back, and they were asked to improve certain aspects of their physical self that we identified from the score and told them to work on. They were given an assessment and a program chart that would address those dysfunctions. And they would come back to us 3 months later and we would test again. So just as is the in norm of the day, testing. So same thing here, you've got to test. If you're not testing, you're merely guessing. And we can't charge money from people for guessing. And I keep telling my trainers all the time that. So you can't do guesswork. You have to know. And the only way you know is by testing. So assessment screens are extremely important for golfers. We must do those tests, and we must do those tests 3 to 4 times a year to understand how they are scoring, whether they're improving or not.
How to avoid functional scoliosis, especially in a sports?
I just go back to the last question. For example, if you were trying to find out whether your player's ability to improve, make up and downs from the bunker has improved or not, and you do not have the statistics, how will you know the bunker play is improving? Right? So there are specific drills and tests that you can do. And I'm sure these are done. I know Tarun said does it. I'm sure other coaches who I don't know who are listening and also do that. So that's the only way you'll know if any aspect. So if I don't do the overhead squat test 3 times or 5 times a year, how will I know the person's ability to do overhead squats? But there are certain parameters which dictate the ability, which are preconditions or prerequisites for the ability to. Those need to improve. Okay, next question.
How to avoid functional scoliosis, especially in a sport where movement is one-sided, for example, golf swings?
Very, 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 very important. So what we sometimes get our athlete to do, so for example, yeah. So I am a left-handed batsman and a left-handed golfer. So I tend to, over a period of time, become this. So sometimes it may make sense for me that I only stretch this side of the body. So I'm stretching the QL only on this side of the body, right? And I'm not stretching this because this is already stretched. So one way to do it, when we are doing the side stretch, do this first, this second, and then go back and stretch this again. Or completely not stretch this, whatever works. I think both approaches work. If you only stretch the side, which gets short and tight, and some muscles of our body do get short and tight. For golfers, I'll give you a little secret that I've seen people do. If you're a right-handed golfer, keep a left-handed 7-iron or a wedge with you, and after the end of your practice, hit about 30 or 40, 20 or 30 balls from the left side as well. I think there is some research going on that if you improve one aspect of your body, of your side, there are carryover benefits that go to the other side as well. But yes, to provide one-sidedness, you need to stretch the side that is getting short and tight. And everybody who's a golfer has their one side with the short and tight.
So can we take the next question?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What type of fitness do you suggest for a 10-year-old boy?
You know, for a 10-year-old boy, I'd again, see, I talked about muscular screening. I would perform that screen on a 10-year-old boy also. And unless I know the answers, unless I know the score, I can't say what type. Because for I would tell parents and coaches, do not put your trainees under generic training. So this question that you asked me, it is assumed that it should be the same for all 10-year-old boys across the world who want to play golf. That is not so. 10-year-old boys will differ from 10-year-old boys, particularly in children. Some 10-year-olds can be 8-year-olds, and some 10-year-olds could be 12-year-olds. Yeah, in children, we do not go by chronological age. We only go by sexual maturity. We do not go by chronological age. We go by biological age. So I don't know what the biological age of the 10-year-old boy is. His chronological age is 10, but he could be 8, he could be 12. And he may demonstrate and display different fitness aspects. He may have different competencies and different incompetencies. So his training protocol will only be based on that muscular screening and assessment. Parents, coaches, please ask coaches, fitness coaches, for that numerical data. If not other empirical data, on what basis are you saying that he needs to do this? On what basis are you saying, for example, okay, your son's driving accuracy is poor, or your daughter's driving accuracy is poor. The first question the parents will ask, can you tell me how many fairways he's missing? So similar thing in fitness. To say something is good or bad has to be backed up by numerical data. And that data will really define what that 10-year-old boy needs to do.
Okay. How to perform a proper squat for lower body?
Can we part that? Who's asked the question?
Swing master.
Okay. So again, I need to send him data on this. I'll send him a video. I'll send him. It's just not something that but if for the scope of this, the way to sit down and poop If you can sit down and poop, you can squat. It's as simple as that. If you can
Okay.
use the Indian style toilet, you can squat. There's nothing complicated about squatting. But
Okay.
you can share my WhatsApp and email ID. I'll send him data if he really wants to know.
How long do we need to stretch after a workout?
10 minutes.
Uh,
But again, this will differ from people to people. If you have an injury and need to work on certain aspects, or you need certain muscle, need more attention, you might want to spend more time. I think there are better questions. Somebody asked about adductor tightness or something.
yeah, more questions are coming up. I'm just
Okay,
asking
no.
from the beginning. Okay.
Yeah, I leave it to you.
So, okay. Oh. How can we increase the flexibility of our hip flexors?
So that means you want me to demo that hip flexor stretch?
Yes, sir.
Just tell me if you can see me, right?
Yeah, we can see you, sir.
So, okay, so I'll go this way. Now, there are many ways to stretch the hip flexors. I'll show you two ways. This is the most simple way to stretch. So you're in a lunge position. Yeah. So your lunge position. Make sure that when you're going down, your shoulder and hip is in the same line and it remains in the same line. So I don't want the hip to go ahead like that and the back arching. The lower back should not arch. You go as low as you can. If you, I don't know if you can see the bottom of my left knee. Reach out with the left hand and stretch slightly to your right. So that will stretch the hip flexors on your left side. Everybody saw that? You need to hold that for 20 seconds. So that's the standard hip flexor stretch. You could also stretch it. You could also stretch it, if you can still see me, with one foot on a raised bench. If you can see my left leg bench. Yeah, this is also a way to stretch. But very important is that your hip, the hip is, okay, this bone, the hip bone and the shoulder bone always has to be in one line. The lower back should not go ahead like that. That's very important. So as we say, that spine has to be held in posterior tilt and not anterior tilt like that. It should not tilt anteriorly like that. Was that fine for me?
Yeah, it's fine, sir. So someone has requested something like, can you please demonstrate a squat?
I cannot demonstrate a squat now because I've got an injury in the knee. Otherwise,
okay. Okay, sir. Not a problem, sir.
I'm recovering from a knee injury, so at this point of time, but I can send you the picture later on.
Videos, yeah.
I'm really sorry, I can't demonstrate a squat.
Yeah. What effect will golf clubs that are too light for you have on your body?
I mean, this is a technical question, but I understand if there is an ideal relationship between weight of the club and the swing speed. If the club is too light, I think it will affect the accuracy because you will not be able to keep the club head square, but this at impact. As I understand it, this is a technical question which Indrajit Tarun is better qualified to answer. So as I understand it, you need to have the right weight for your swing speed. Okay. If it's too heavy, you'll compromise on this. If it's too light, then you'll find it difficult to keep the club head square at impact. But again, this is a question outside the realm of my scope of practice.
Okay. Rotational exercises are very important in golf. So what should be the progression level for any beginners starting their training?
What should be the
progression levels?
Progression. Okay, yeah. When you say rotation, it's very important rotation in which joints. Like I said, certain joints are meant for rotation, certain joints are not meant for rotation. I don't think the knee is meant for rotation. I don't think the lower back is meant for rotation. Right? So yeah, golf is rotation of the right joints, number one. However, if there are flexibility issues in the body, one joint will compromise for the other and try to mimic the movement of that joint. We need to first rule out the risk of that happening before we teach a golfer to rotate. Before I teach a kid to rotate, I must rule out that that kid is rotating out of the lower back or knee before I identify the correct muscles. And that is only possible with proper flexibility, which is why I emphasize that flexibility is the first point to go to. Otherwise, there'll be an issue.
Okay.
Okay. Now there is an interesting question, Joshua. If you permit, with your permission, can I?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Okay.
You go
Now,
ahead, sir.
somebody asked about shoulder rotation. The shoulders do not rotate in golf. There is no such thing in physiology as shoulder rotation. There is external rotation. Yeah. Shoulder rotation doesn't happen. The shoulder can adapt. But you know, it can do a number of functions. It can extend, it can flex, it can do horizontal abduction, but it cannot rotate. So what you mean shoulder rotation is actually your spine rotating. Your shoulders are merely sitting there and allowing the thoracic spine to rotate. This is what needs to rotate. Okay, the scapula does not rotate. So I saw that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. External. Yeah. Okay. External rotation. External rotation. This is external rotation. Many people, as you can see, my right hand is gone here. Many people, when they want to do that, they're actually doing this. They can't get there. People who can't do front squats, you will see when they put them in external, they're actually trying to extend from other. This is what I mean by classic compensation. So if you don't have good external rotation, and that's what exactly I meant, because if you're going to look at back pain, you can get back pain if you don't have good external rotation, because if the brain plays tricks, you're wanting this. Why do your notifications keep coming on the right? You're wanting this, but because you can't do this, you're actually doing this. Yeah, go. Push from here. But no, you have to be able to hold this and go from here. Many people don't have that external rotation. So you have to work the external rotation. Why do they not have it? They don't have it because the internal rotators are too strong. They are too strong. When you see these wrinkles in the shirt, you look at them, you'll find these wrinkles in the shirt. Should never happen. That is how the wrinkles happen, because you're internally rotated. Most human beings you observe are internally rotated, because we're constantly working with our hands here. We are driving the car, we're eating. So when we stand in a golf swing also, internally rotated. How are we going to achieve external rotation? So it's very important that you stretch the internal rotators. You need to be here. Stretch the internal rotators. If the internal rotators are stretched, you will find external rotation very easy. So avoid exercises. And we teach our children, one of the first most common exercises are push-ups. Now, push-ups, if you do too many push-ups and don't stretch your chest, you might not be able to achieve external rotation.
Okay.
Arvind, that answers your question.
Yeah. Sir, we have a lot of questions coming up. So I'm just asking how many questions you're willing to
I can be here till
answer.
the evening. I'm not doing this. Up to you.
Okay, sir. Then I'm asking the next question. How do you improve mind-muscle connection?
I'm not even sure that the mind can talk to the muscle. You know, if it could, right? Assuming you're right, you're trying to, okay, I want to use my rhomboids. The trainer's telling you, use your rhomboids, but you're using your traps. So the mind can't talk. There is a pathway. There is a pathway that has been set because of altered relationship in muscles, and you will go down the same route again and again. It's like I say, if water through soft mud, once the river flows through soft mud and it finds a route, it is very difficult to alter that route. So you can keep telling that water, no, go down this way, but it will go down the route that has already been set. So then how do we change it? The only way to change it is if we stretch the defaulting muscle. We reduce the neuromuscular activity in the tight muscle. We quieten it down. We make it more introvert, so that the correct intended muscle which you want to fire gets fired. Okay, so my coach is telling me, listen, you need to turn like this, and I am turning like this. I am turning with the hands because I don't have the ability to go there. But your brain says, listen, I have to go there. So you're going there, you're using your upper body, you're using your knees, you're going there. But from that position, there's no way you can get the head of that golf club onto the ball consistently. You can do it once, you can do it twice, you can do it 80% of times on a great day, but you can't repeat day in and day out, which you need to do if you want to be a tournament player.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So moving on to the next question. During tournaments where players play for 4-5 days, how does one ensure that he or she keeps the same mental and physical energy on all days?
Listen, it's your preparation. If your preparation has been good, you can manage. If you've been living every day as if it is an exam, as if it's a tournament day, right? Because you may step in and play your first professional golf tournament, but believe me, you've been there 100 times in your dream. You know, I can speak for myself. I haven't played professional golf, but before I made, say, I played for my state, I made my Ranji Trophy day. That was my first day, but I can't say I'm not prepared because I've gone through that day in my dreams and in my mind 100 times. So this could be my first golf tournament as a junior. I'm 12 years old. Yeah, that's a learning experience. But from 12 to 17 or 18 or 19, when you play your first professional tournament, you've done these mock tests several times in your life. So that's why you need to get fit. That's why we're saying you need to get fit. You need to build a routine. You need to meditate. You need to be ready for that day so that when it happens, you're ready. I don't know whether that answers your question, because you've done it so many times. That's why I'm telling you, live every day as if you're playing a tournament tomorrow.
How important it is for an athlete to train during injury? If an athlete has injured right side of the shoulder, can he train the other group of muscle?
Yes. Firstly, if you injure the right side of the shoulder, firstly, you need to do the rehab exercises because you're not going to recover sitting on your back and sleep. That's number one. Your first priority is your right shoulder exercises for the shoulder. Then, if you have extra time left, you can train the left, because the brain, there's again research which says that if you train one side of your body, there is a carryover benefit on the other, at least the neuromuscular pathways. So yes, it's an excellent idea to train one side of your body when the other side is injured. But please do the rehab exercises first before you do the other sides.
Okay. So how does one undertake fitness during tournament, as it is often very tiring after a round of an excellent session?
Yeah, that's true. So if you want to train on the same day as you've played a tournament, you don't have to do the same routine that you do in normal times. You can cut short those exercises. Say if you do typically 5 exercises in the gym, you could do 3 exercises. If you're doing 4 sets, you could do 3 sets. So 5 into 4 is 20. If normally you do 20, you could do 3 into 3, 9. So straight away the number of sets come down. You can even increase the number of, decrease the number of repetitions. So if you've been doing 10, so 20 into 10, 20 sets into 10, that's 200. You could do 9 into 5, that is 45. So instead of doing 200 repetitions, you could do 45 repetitions. You don't have to, there's no one way to train. You have to be flexible in your mind as well to be able to do what you do. But do train if you want to train. It's again varies from people. Some people find a lot of strength they go and train in the gym. I know, for example, Rahul Dravid, when he was playing for India, used to swim in the morning, go for a run. If he had a match in the second half, which was a one-day match, an evening, day-night match, he would train in the morning because he felt good about it. I know many people who train. Glenn McGrath, for example, used to train. Many golfers train. I've seen many golfers playing the PGTI who train not the day, because we are daylight hours are short in India. We tend to play the first half of the day, but they train the night before. And yeah, you're going to be tired in the beginning for the person who asked the question. But if you make it a part of your routine, you'll soon find that you can cope with it.
Yeah. So coming to the next question, how to make exercise training session fun for young kids, particularly in between 11 to 13 years?
You can, you have to use your creativity. And look, the way I do it, it's not fun all the time. We work this out. Listen, you can have your 5 to 10 minutes of fun, provided you do your 30, 40 minutes of serious stuff. Yeah, so there are many creative ways and you can end up with a fun session. But in such a way that the kid is actually doing something worth it and having fun at the same time. You can put little small challenges if you're training, one against the other, without making it very competitive, of course. But exercise is not a TV channel. It's not meant to be entertaining. And that the kid has to know very early in life, that the job of the trainer is not to entertain you, is to teach you. Yeah. So yeah, fun is a requirement, but it's not fun and games at the end of the day.
Okay. So when do I do lower body exercises for 2-3 days? Pain remains that natural?
Sorry, what's that?
Yeah. For there's another question with the same. When do I lower body? When I do, it should be when I do lower body exercises for 2-3 days, pain remains. Is that natural? Is that natural?
Pain remains. You may mean 2 to 3 days means 2 days in a week. So by pain, I think the person asking the question means soreness. Yeah, if you're really training well, there will be soreness, but the soreness should go away once you get used to the routine. The first week you may be sore, second week you may be sore, but you continue week after week training 2 to 3 times a week, the soreness is not going to stay in your 5th or 6th week.
What is that adductor muscle?
The adductor muscles are that lying in the inside of your thighs. Yeah, these are the adductors. If the adductors are tight, you tend to be like this rather than like this. And when you're like this, it compromises your movement efficiency. It puts a lot of stress on the knee, and it might affect the way your foot lands on the ground. If the adductors are tight, right from top the hips, the knees tend to pull in, the feet instead of falling like that, it's falling like that. So it affects the entire kinetic chain. And you can hurt your ankle. But like I said, when you hurt your ankle, the problem may not be in the ankle. In this case, the problem could be in the adductor muscles. Just an example.
Does this pain happen due to lack of exercise?
Which pain?
I don't know. Someone just asked. He has not mentioned anything. So going to the next question, where is he has not completed the question, so that's why we are not getting. As of now, we don't have any questions left, sir. So do you want to continue? Or?
No. If there are no questions, I can wind up.
Okay. This one's question: how to improve abductor muscle flex?
Okay, there's a question coming in from Arvind. Sorry, apart from stretching, how do we take care of soreness after a round? Arvind, there is no research that actually says even stretching will not give you soreness. So there are many theories. There's a theory called the DOM said on delayed onset muscle syndrome. But yes, what stretching does, it's again, there's a feeling that it takes the lactic acid out of the muscle and takes it in your bloodstream, then to the liver to get destroyed. So there is less soreness, but your body should be, if your routine is the same, your body should be able to get used to the soreness after a while. It is a part of exercise physiology, which called adaptation. Your muscles adapt to it and learn to handle the soreness. Basically, soreness happens because of production of lactic acid, and there's a strong micro trauma that takes place. Now, the body learns to cope with lactic acid. The body learns to buffer lactic acid, and the soreness. Again, the muscle learns to cope with that. So, over a period of time, you will learn to become less so, unless, again, there is a gap. Then your body unlearns it and you start after a long time, you will get sore. If your body doesn't learn and you still getting sore, then it may be a problem of progression and perhaps you are increasing too much too quick. Otherwise, or you're overtraining. Otherwise, your body should not be sore over a period of time.
Okay. How important is that Q angle while creating torque in a golf swing?
Okay, I assume that the person asking the question understands the meaning of the Q angle. The Q angle happens when the knee collapses. And when the knee collapses, it's because the gluteus medius has been switched off. The gluteus medius firing keeps the Q angle. Now, during torque, during rotation, if you have the gluteus medius switched off, then you got a problem because the gluteus medius works on external rotation. That means if either there is no external rotation happening, or if it's happening, it is not happening from the gluteus medius, some other muscle is compensating, which is dangerous from an injury perspective. So when you see the knee collapse and you're seeing the Q angle increasing, you got a problem there. So the knee injury, number one. Second, down the kinetic chain, you cannot predict injury. It'll happen whichever muscle learns to compensate. The glutes are not firing. So maybe the the extensor, the gluteum max is trying to achieve rotation, which is not a job because the glutes max is supposed to be hip extensor. So everything goes disarray because then your brain tells somebody else to, it's basically Tom doing Dick's work, Dick doing Harry's work, and everything is confused.
Yeah. So can we go to the next question, sir? Someone has asked, where is the teres major and latissimus dorsi situated?
Okay, the teres major, if you know the difficult, I mean, the latissimus dorsi is very simple. It starts, it attaches here at the head of humerus and goes right down one side of the body into almost your glutes. So the entire upper body back, one side of his latissimus dorsi, right from, it actually attaches the, it's very important because it attaches your arms to your body. Right from here, it goes down and attaches to your pelvis. And there is research that it goes even down to the thoracolumbar fascia, right into the fibers of the glutes. The teres major is a stabilizing, is one of the rotator cuff muscles, and it's deep within the scapula.
Sir, can you just please
go on, Praveen.
Yeah, can you please suggest some neck exercises for golf? I get a stiff neck during and after a round of golf.
I can suggest neck exercises, but I have a feeling you're getting a stick exercise not because of your neck, but because your thoracic spine is tight. Your neck is compensating for the thoracic spine. Because the thoracic spine is not extending and rotating, your neck is trying to do the job of the thoracic spine, and therefore the neck is getting tight. So I have a feeling it's not the neck that you need to look into, but your T-spine. Are you doing enough T-spine extension, mobility, and rotation exercise or not? If you can answer me that question, then I can move on to your next.
Okay. So the next question is, can a 14-year-old girl do exercise every day?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Someone has inquired what is gypsum bath.
Oh, it's gypsum bath is basically again helps in recovery in easing the muscles, taking spasm out. But again, these are all anecdotal, right? But they work. They work in many cases. So they are recommended by a lot of people. You soak gypsum in hot water and you lie down, and it's supposed to take fatigue out of your muscles. They are a great, excellent way to recover from post-exercise soreness. I
How
think
do
how do you ensure? Somebody asked, how do you ensure that your son or daughter is working with the right trainer?
yes.
You've got to really look up at the trainer's background. Mm, Many people will quote many certifications. Really, they're of no meaning unless the person has the certification of some credibility, and certificates are not everything. So background study is extremely important. Um, yeah, and you have to interact with the trainer, ask him some pertinent questions, ask him technical questions, ask for some numerical data. And I think you've got to, it's a tricky question to answer, really. How do you know somebody's good? I mean, we conduct interviews for our trainers, for people we take, and all the questions are technical questions, but you don't expect someone like you to ask technical questions. How do you know unless you ask technical? So I think it's better to stick to safety, go by reputation, go by the trainer's past body, who he's worked for, ask for some background reference, talk to people. I can't think of any other way to advise how you would know. And I think at the end of the day, if you speak to someone for 5 or 10 minutes, you really know how well the person is suited for the job.
Okay. So can we take the next question, sir?
Yes.
Yes. How does one assess that the golfer is with the right trainer?
That's the answer I gave.
Okay. So can you suggest some core exercises? Are there any exercises for weight gain?
Look, any standard strength training exercise will help you to add weight to your body, provided you're eating enough, you're packing in enough calories, and you're getting enough rest. So for weight gain, rest and calories is very important.
How to take care and how to improve my thoracic spine fitness? My thoracic spine is tight.
We have, I mean, I can demo the exercises, but isn't it better that the person contacts me individually, and then I can, or maybe there's contacts, looks at our endorphins Instagram profile. We've got exercises there, or whatever. There are many ways to do this. But all I can say that the thoracic spine is absolutely very, very important in a golf swing.
Can you please explain the anterior sling in golf?
Who's this question from?
Mr. Sandeep Mandiwal.
I knew that. He's testing me actually, that Sandeep. Okay. So anterior sling, right? Where the obliques, so this is how the anterior sling works. It works in push and it works in rotation. Okay, so how about any kind of cable push with rotation would be an anterior sling exercise? Yeah. This is how the anterior slings work. There has to be the anterior part of the body isn't pushing.
Okay. So as of now, we don't have any questions. we don't have any questions, sir. So if you want to carry on, you can carry. It's over to you.
No, I'm happy.
Okay, okay, okay. Thanks all of you. Thanks for coming and thanks for attending this session. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Champ for Life Academy. And thanks once again. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So we are ending this session. Have